Good day, I am Jonie and Bangahon, and we're going to tackle about accounting system in hospital industry. So before we proceed with our topic, let us recall first what is accounting system. When we say accounting system, it is a set of accounting processes with integrated procedures and controls. This is intended to record business transactions and create reports which can be useful for decision making to improve operations. So let's proceed to our topic, which is accounting system in hospital. This accounting system is designed to meet the needs of the hospital in respect to its operations, specifically in financial control system. So when we say accounting system, it obviously involves accountants who are responsible for collecting account payments for the services rendered on patients, maintaining all staff and patient files, and taking charge all the billing duties. So the objectives of the system are the following. First is to enhance the utilization of resources in efficient manner. Second, to equip with efficacious internal control system and procedures in order to protect the assets of the hospital. Third is to secure accurate and convenient acquisition of financial information. Fourth is to provide management with essential and relevant information for adequacy of financial reports in efficient manner. And last is to determine the capability of its operations from such management and financial reports. So, in next is general accounting plan. In this phase, accounting plays a vital role in hospital as it gathers, communicates, and interprets the different historical data and forecasted economic data, which is useful in determination of the financial position and possible results in the operations of the hospital. So it states here that the several transactions involved in the operations of the hospital are derived from the source documents of the book of accounts. So the following are the underlying general principles which comprises the basic features included in the accounting system. First is accountability for the completion of duty. Second is automatic check with a large number of functions in which no one should have complete control over a business transaction in order to guarantee that errors committed will be discovered by others who are processing the same transactions. Third is test of accuracy in order to guarantee an accurate accounting data compiled. Fourth is segregation of tasks or duties. Then last is record keeping accuracy in order to maintain integrity. So here is the accounting system in hospital operations or transactions. So, so this accounting flowchart shows the step-by-step process of the transactions in the hospital. First is as you can see, the first step, the first process is schedule patients. In this phase, it determines the patient's time, date, and duration of their appointments that would be set by the medical assistant. It also aims to match the patient, I mean, It also aims to match the patient needs and the healthcare resources such as doctors, nurses, medicines, equipment, rooms, and etc. However, scheduling system is not easy as the way you think. It is because it provides the necessary data such as the number of surgeries to be performed, duration of per procedure, and differences between doctors. So the next process is register patients. In this phase, the process is the process of collecting, identifying, and recording the patient demographic and eligibility information. Next from register patients is receive patients. This phase is the process of receiving patients to be admitted in the hospital and preparing for health services to be rendered. Next, from received patients are both assure quality and manage patient medical information. So in assuring quality, the hospital accounting system should set proper budget of time for services in order to improve the patient's health and wellness as well, because making patients wait longer period of time for services might lower the patient's satisfaction. Also, healthcare professional must show respect to patients, enable access to care, coordinate patient care with other providers, address the patient physical needs, and facilitate their fast recovery. Then, in manage patient medical information, the proper management of the patient medical information is necessary in order to provide the proper health services. So, the next process is provide treatment for patients. So, in providing treatment for patients, the healthcare services that are being provided for patients' treatment are applicable to their health. Must be applicable or accurate to their health problems. Then next is care for patients. So in caring the patients, it is the core responsibility of the medical practitioner. In hospital, the doctors and nurses are obliged to take care of their patients carefully, such as answering any patient questions and always ensuring that their basic needs while in hospital are taken care of appropriately. Next is release patients. So after taking care the patients, after giving all the healthcare services, then it is the time to release the patient. So in this phase, the hospital will release patients after treatment, or often called as hospital discharge, regardless of their unsettled bills. As it was stated, if I'm not mistaken, in the RA 9439 or Republic Act 9439, that patients who are financially incapable, who are financially incapable to settle their hospital bill, who partially recovered and wish to leave the hospital as long as they execute promissory note covering the unpaid obligation, can be discharged. So if ever after the releasing the patients, the next process would be collect payment. So in collecting the payment, they should educate patient regarding on the cost of virtual services. So the medical billing professional collects all the necessary information, such as the patient demographics, provided clinical services, insurance details, compiles the medical bills, and send to the payer for reimbursements, or offer a payment plan, especially for those who are not able, or who are incapable to pay their bills in the hospital. So next to collecting the payment is the generate billing. In generate billing, the hospital should forward claims to the billing team through courier or scanned documents, including the medical records of patient, charge sheets, insurance verification data, and insurance copy, and any important information of patient. So this, after send after after the collecting the payment, it was stated here if the bail paid. If the bill, if the bill is not paid, then it is the process for sending unpaid bill to collection agency. So in sending unpaid bill to collection agency, when the patient is not able to pay its obligation or medical bill, the hospital can send unpaid bill to the collection agency to third party person to collect it. Then next is deal with collection agency. So in dealing with collection agency, after the hospital sent the debt to collection agency, the patient is obliged to contract the collection agency for payment arrangements. Then the patient are also applicable or allowed to apply for financial assistance. So in this phase, if the patient is incapable to pay the medical bill, it is advised to apply for medical assistance from government to cover the obligation or to minimize the amount of bill to be paid. Then if the bill is paid, then it is the process of receiving it is the it so the payment should be received. So payment received, in payment received phase, the hospital received the payment, they will review the billing compliance. After they receive after the hospital received the payment, then they have to review the billing compliance of the patients. Then, in reviewing the billing compliance, accurate compliance of billing is important because any inaccurate billing might lead to serious financial problem in the hospital. Also, accurate billing is helpful in making important business decisions, which include staffing, patient outreach, improving services, and ensuring financial stability of the hospital. That is why it is necessary to review the billing compliance of the patients to assure accuracy. Then next is to record payment. So, in recording the payments, once the billing compliance of the patients is completed after it has been reviewed, then the hospital will record the payment. Next is to recognize revenue. Once the payment from the patient has been recorded, then the hospital will now recognize revenue from the services rendered to the patient, and it is called operating revenue. Next is revenue input. So in revenue input, the revenue will definitely help the hospital for the revenue input will definitely help the hospital for better decision making, specifically in the revenue budget. So after the revenue and input is the tax audit. Okay, it says here that concessions and accounts for fees and other charges should be double checked. Also, bills must be verified with a cash receipt book, receipt counterfoil, and cash book. Verification of bill arrears is required to be done. Therefore, tax is based on the revenue from the services rendered. Tax audit is done to come up with accurate amount of tax to be paid. Audit is necessary to ensure correctness and compliance of hospital in accordance with the law, rules, and regulations. So the last process is revenue evaluation. So a thorough examination of the revenue cycle is, can be significantly reduce the number of insurance claim denials in practice, resulting in enhanced cash flow and overall practice optimization, which is indeed helpful for the increase of profitability. So next is the accounting system in purchasing. So when we say purchasing, it involves the purchasing agent, who is the person in charge of purchasing. So regardless of his other responsibilities, he should have to purchase all supplies, resources, and equipment needed in the hospital. The storekeeper and receiving clerk should make reports to this person in possession of the receipts for goods purchased. So first step is the needs identification. Of course, in purchasing, you have to identify first what are the needs. So in this phase, it enables hospital to sketch up an accurate plan for purchasing in a timely and cost-effective manner. Then second is purchase requisition. In purchase requisition, it contains necessary information required to obtain the appropriate materials or supplies to be purchased. And then next is request examination. So it is necessary to examine the request in order to know if the requested items are truly needed, or really needed, and to double check if the available funds are sufficient. Then next is the budget approval. After the request has been examined, then budget approval is the next. Then once the budget is approved, the purchasing agent sends out request for quotation, or RFQ, to suppliers with the goal of receiving and comparing bids in order to find the best supplier. Then next is the supplier selection. In the supplier selection, it is necessary to look for the best supplier among others and to conduct an evaluation before having a contract. So the primary goal of the supplier selection process is to lower the purchasing risk and increase total value to the purchaser and foster closeness with the supplier. Next is negotiation and contract. So in negotiation and contract, once the supplier has been chosen, the contract is negotiated and signed, and the purchase order is sent to the supplier. When a supplier accepts and acknowledges a purchase order, a legal contract is formed. Next is receiving orders. So in receiving orders, once the supplier meets the deadline and provides the promised items, or after receiving them, the purchasing agent inspects the order and informs the supplier of any problems with the things being received. So next is receive and check invoice. So it is necessary to check invoice. So when the invoice has received, it is necessary to review or examine it in order to ensure accuracy and to minimize the potential risk. Then next is invoice approval payment. In invoice approval payment, once the order has received completely with an accurate amount of bill, the invoice is approved and forwarded to payment processing. So, so in the Okay, next is the record keeping. And last is purchase order closure. So in purchase order closure, once all the items ordered are completely delivered by the supplier or received by the purchasing agent, then purchase order will be immediately closed. So here are the sample chart of accounts in the hospital. So in assets, okay. assets are categorized into current assets and non-current assets. So in cash, in current assets, cash, cash are categorized into cash in bank, cash in hand for charges, cash in hand daily sales, check in hand, petty cash fund, cash collecting officers. Then next account is the marketable securities. Then account receivables could be categorized into receivables from credit companies, receivables from patients, receivables from affiliates. Then another accounts are the inventory and stock, prepaid expenses, advance to party, personal advances to staff, operational advance to staff. Then in non-current asset, it includes the land, building, furniture, equipment, electronics, IT and computer, vehicles, machineries, goodwill, allowance from valuation, and accumulated depreciation. Then in liabilities, in current liabilities, accounts payable could be categorized into payables to credit companies, payables to patients, payables to affiliates, pledge and other payables, payables to supplies, payables to staff or benefits, and other payables. Then next is the withholding tax payable. So this is just a sample of the chart of accounts on hospital, and it does not include all or everything, or I mean it does not include all the accounts. I mean all the chart of accounts in the hospital. So next is the sample of billing receipt in hospital. So with further research, I was the one who made this receipt for as a sample of the medical bill receipt in the hospital. So in the upper right corner, it shows the receipt number and the date. Then on the upper right corner, on the upper right corner, it shows the receipt number and the date. Then on the upper left corner, it shows the name of the hospital or the medical institution. Let's say Jonie's Hospital. Then the practitioner's name is Dr. Jonie and Bangahon. Then the license number. Next is the address. Then for the patient, then below is the patient information, the name of the patient. For example, Roy John Hilye. Then street address like J. Clarine Street. Then city, Tagbilaran City. Then on the table below, it shows the code. So each code has different description of services or medicine or products, then which is in the which can be seen in the second column. Then in the third column is the dates when the services are being rendered or the medicines are being given. Then the rate of the services or the medicines. Then here in the last column is the line total. So as you can see in the bottom of the receipt, you can see the total amount of 13,730, which is the amount that the patient is responsible to pay. Okay, next is the detailed policies, systems, and procedures. So the hospital will follow the generally accepted accounting principles or GAAP. So the following are the list of generally accepted accounting principles. So first is the principle of regularity. So in the principle of regularity, it states that the accountant has compiled to the GAAP or generally accepted accounting principles, rules, and regulations. Second is the principle of consistency. In the principle of consistency, the accounts should enter all items in exactly the same way that has been fixed through the application of similar standards in the reporting process in order for accountants to avoid errors or discrepancies, but there are cases that standards are changed or updates, then the accountants are obliged to fully disclose or to fully disclose and explain the reasons behind the changes. Then next is, okay, let's erase this one. Next is the principle of sincerity. In the principle of sincerity, the accountant should provide the correct interpretation of the financial situation of the hospital. Next is the principle of permanence of methods. So, this principle focused on the consistency in the procedures used in the financial reporting. Next is the principle of non-compensation. In this principle, the full details of the financial information must be disclosed, including negatives and positives, and must be done without expectation of debt compensation by an asset or revenue by an expense. Next is the principle of prudence. In this principle, the financial data representation should be done as it is and not referring to any speculations. Next is principle of continuity. In this principle, it concludes the hospital will continue. It assumes that the hospital will continue its operations in the future. From the word itself, continuity. So next principle is the principle of periodicity. The accounting entries are disseminated across the suitable time periods. Then next is the principle of materiality. So in the principle of materiality, it refers to the completeness of information included in financial reporting and whether information would be valuable to outside parties. Last, last is the principle of utmost good faith, which means that this principle states presupposes that the parties remain honest in every transaction. So next is the system in the hospital. So the system that are in the hospital, it helps the hospital for the efficiency of its operation. So the first system is the PAS or patient accounting system. So patient accounting system is used for storing financial data, calculating the healthcare cost, and providing efficiently the billing information to patients. So patient accounting system. Next is electronic medical record and electronic health record. So these are used to digitally create and store the patient records in efficient manner. Third is practice management. So in practice management system, it is used to assist healthcare practitioners on daily operation as it includes the scheduling, billing, inventory management, and etc. Fourth is patient portal. So in patient portal, it is used for patients to easily access their health data and can create appointments with doctors or nurses through the use of the application. Also, they could receive their lab results and keep in touch with healthcare practitioners over the portal, which helps to increase the efficiency in the hospital's operations. Then, fourth is the Clinical Decision Support or CDS, which is used to analyze data from several systems in hospital and make better clinical decisions to be prepared in diagnosis and predict medical circumstances. Last is remote patient monitoring or RPM. So RPM is used to gather data from patient and transfer it to healthcare practitioners. So these systems are necessary in order to improve the performance of healthcare services. Then, so the hospital will use accrual accounting, which means that income and expenses are recognized when they happen rather than when money changes hands. So in general, it clarifies the relationship between revenue and expenses, giving a hospital better picture of profitability. On the balance sheet, it also provides a more realistic view of a company's assets and liabilities. So this method is better because it reveals when income and expenses occurred, accrual when income and expenses occurred. So accrual accounting also provides a better representation of the hospital's success. Indeed, hospital can project future financial reports through the use of the accrual